In the oldest Greek myth, there were these 3 gorgons, and one of them was Medusa. Now, of all the villains and monsters in Greek mythology, Medusa takes the crown. She was the one with a head full of snakes and gaze that could turn you into a statue. Our hero, Perseus, had the pleasure of crossing paths with her. Talk about bad luck, right? In Hesiod's Theogony, it is mentioned that the 3 gorgons, namely Euryale, Steno, and Medusa, were the offspring of Phorcys and Ceto. These monstrous sisters were part of a lineage that included other legendary creatures such as Echidna, Ladon, and Grae. According to ancient texts, Medusa and her sisters were said to dwell in caverns beneath Mount Olympus, with Ceto giving birth to them in one of these hidden chambers. The traditional description of the Gorgons depicted them as winged women with large heads, bulging, staring eyes, and swine-like tusks. Another peculiar characteristic attributed to them was their hands, which were believed to be made of bronze. But the most notable feature of Medusa and her sisters was their hair, which consisted of hissing snakes. It was a truly striking and fearsome sight. Interestingly, it was Steno, not Medusa, who was considered the most deadly of the 3 Gorgons. It was believed that Steno had taken more lives than Medusa and Euryale combined. The dwelling place of Medusa and her sisters was a well-guarded secret kept by Grae. Hesiod suggested that the Gorgons lived on an island near the Hesperides, located at the western edge of the known world. But later writers also claimed that Medusa and her sisters lived in Libya. Medusa was initially described as a stunningly beautiful woman with enchanting features, including long flowing hair, although her story takes a dark turn when it comes to the question of her rape. According to one popular account, Medusa caught the attention of the sea god Poseidon. In this version, Medusa was a priestess serving in a temple of the goddess Athena. Poseidon, driven by desire, violated or seduced Medusa within the sacred confines of Athena's temple. This act was considered a grave offense, as it defiled the holy sanctuary and dishonored Athena. The motivations behind the rape can vary depending on the interpretation. Some versions suggest that Poseidon's actions were impulsive, driven solely by lust. Others present Medusa as a victim of the god's whims and desires, illustrating the abuse of power within Greek mythology. As a result of this encounter, Medusa underwent a profound transformation. Athena, feeling anger and betrayal, punished Medusa by transforming her once beautiful appearance into a monstrous one. Her luscious locks of hair were replaced with writhing snakes, and her gaze became capable of turning people into stone. Now let's talk about the quest for Medusa's head. It is a well-known story in Greek mythology, and it involves the hero Perseus. Perseus was a demigod, the son of Zeus, the king of the gods, and the mortal woman Danae. He was sent on a dangerous mission by King Polydectes, who sought to get rid of him. The king demanded that Perseus bring him the head of Medusa. As everyone knew, whoever looked into her eyes would turn into a stone. Perseus knew that he had to be extremely cautious in his approach. To aid him in his quest, Perseus received special gifts from the gods. Athena gave him a mirror shield to use as a reflective surface to avoid Medusa's gaze. Hermes, the messenger of the gods, provided him with the winged sandals for swift movement. Perseus embarked on his journey and eventually found the lair of the Gorgons. While Medusa slept, he cautiously approached, using the reflective shield to guide his strikes. Perseus managed to decapitate Medusa without looking directly at her, and he swiftly stored her head in a bag provided by Hermes. During his return journey, Perseus encountered various obstacles and adversaries, including the sea monster Cetus. But with his ingenuity and the aid of his magical gifts, he overcame these challenges. In the end, Perseus successfully completed his quest and returned to King Polydectes. Using Medusa's terrifying head, he turned the king and his courtiers to stone, avenging the mistreatment of his mother. But guys, when Perseus defeated Medusa by cutting off her head, something extraordinary happened. From her body, a winged horse called Pegasus magically emerged. Pegasus was a magnificent creature with the ability to fly and become a symbol of grace and inspiration. Another child that appears in some versions of the myth is Chrysaor. He was born directly from Medusa's severed head and wielded a powerful golden sword. Chrysaor was known as a fierce warrior. In addition to Pegasus and Chrysaor, Medusa was also believed to be the mother of Echidna. Echidna was a unique creature with the upper body of a woman and the lower body of a serpent. She went on to become the mother of many other famous monsters, including the Sphinx, Cerberus, and the Hydra. In some accounts, Medusa was said to have given birth to giants as well. These giants were depicted as strong and mighty beings who often clashed with the gods and heroes. So after Medusa was decapitated, the story didn't end there. Along the way, Perseus faced more challenges and had more adventures. One time, he met Atlas, a giant who carried the sky on his shoulders. Perseus showed Atlas Medusa's head, and it magically turned him into the massive Atlas Mountains. After that, Perseus returned to his hometown, the island of the Seriphos. He used Medusa's head as a weapon to confront the mean king named Polydictus. When Perseus displayed the head, the king and his cronies turned into solid stone statues. This set Perseus' mother, Danae, free from their clutches. Later on, Perseus gifted Medusa's head to the goddess Athena. She placed it on her shield or breastplate known as the Aegis. The head became a symbol of power, scaring away evil and instilling fear in enemies. In certain versions of the myth, it's said that even after Medusa died, her head still possessed the power to turn things to stone. Perseus used it in battle, transforming his foes into lifeless statues. Talking about the Greek mythology, Medusa really represented the fears and beliefs of people back then. For example, Medusa as a symbol of sexual danger. Scholars have studied Medusa's serpent hair and her petrifying gaze, and they've interpreted these elements as symbols of castration anxiety and sexual danger. Medusa's association with Athena also contributed to the negative perception of many. This further reinforced the idea of Medusa as a dangerous and seductive figure. In ancient Greek society, encounters with Medusa were often portrayed as incredibly perilous for men. It was as if her feminine power posed a threat to their masculinity and male identity. It suggested that succumbing to the charms or powers of a woman like Medusa would lead to weakness and loss of control. The fear was deeply rooted in societal expectations and perceptions of gender roles during that time. Reflection on mortality and death. In ancient Greek beliefs, Medusa was associated with mortality and the afterlife. Why did the Greeks care about this? They were pretty scared about death, though. Who wouldn't be, right? But it was a big deal for them. They thought about what happens when we leave this world. Is there a place after death? What action in this life has its own effects? Those were the questions they couldn't sleep over. So when they looked at Medusa with her snake hair and that petrifying gaze, it was a constant reminder of their own mortality. She symbolized the inevitability of death and the fear of the unknown. It's like she was the spooky reminder that life is short and death is always lurking in the shadows. Greek mythology is deeply ingrained in Greek culture, shaping their identity, art, literature, and worldview. Myths like the story of Medusa acts as a cultural touchstone, offering a shared history and understanding. They inspire numerous artistic and literary creations, with Medusa's image appearing in sculptures, paintings, poetry, leaving a lasting cultural legacy. We're really excited to hear your thoughts on the ancient Greeks and their fears and beliefs about Medusa. Let us know what stood out and totally blew your mind. Please share your comments below. It would mean a lot of us if you could give this video a thumbs up and show your support. Subscribing is easy for everyone. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We have plenty of amazing content coming your way. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. This is Discover Ancient Civilizations. Until next time, stay curious and keep discovering.